Welcome to the April 16th City Council meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. And because Councilwoman Hofer is going to be a few minutes late, I will be taking over the invocation. If we could all stand for a moment of silence and then for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Padilla is absent. Deputy Mayor Valdivia Acala.
Here.
Council members Hiller.
Here.
Ortiz.
Here.
Banks.
Here.
Kale.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Dobler.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
And Hofer. All right, we have 8 present.
Okay, thank you. We do have 2 proclamations today. I'll be coming down here, and I do request Rachel. Okay, Rachel Pantos, if she could come up, please.
No, you didn't.
So I'm going to read this, and then you can say a few words if you'd like. Okay. Proclamation by the Mayor for National Therapy Animal Day. Whereas there are thousands of pet partner therapy animal teams serving in communities across the United States, and whereas Pet Partners has designated April 30th, 2024 as National Therapy Animal Day, and whereas scientific research shows that interacting with therapy animals can reduce stress, relieve depression, slow heart rate, lower blood pressure, and strengthen the immune system. And whereas therapy animal teams interact with the variety of people in our community, including veterans, seniors, patients, students, and those approaching end of life. Now, therefore, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2024 as National Therapy Animal Day. In witness whereof, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby affix my official signature and the official seal of the City of Topeka, Kansas on this day of April 16th, 2024. So, Rachel, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much. This is Penny, and we visit several hospitals here in the city, as well as folks in retirement homes. We are required to pass evaluations every 2 years in order to be certified to be pet therapy teams. So we are a little bit different than actual service animals. We are not allowed into every facility. We have to be invited by the facility to come in and visit. So we're a little bit different than what you might see a person who needs an animal for a specific service. Penny has had several different classes and different training, but she is not able to just go into any facility. But she does visit several different folks in the community that might need some cheering up.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next will Jennifer Gassman with Kansas Children's Service League come up. Hi. I'll go ahead and read it, then you can say some words. Whereas the day of April 24th, 2024 will be designated as National Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day, and whereas the month of April is Child Abuse Prevention Month and drug endangered children are at a significantly higher risk for abuse and neglect, and whereas it is estimated that more than 9,712 Shawnee County children live in homes where alcohol or other drugs are being abused, and it is estimated that 299 Shawnee County infants are born prenatally exposed to substances every year. And whereas all parents need to receive information about the effect that drugs and other substances have on their unborn babies and their children and on their judgment and parenting abilities. And whereas the statewide Kansas Alliance for Drug Endangered Children, along with the Shawnee County Alliance for Drug Endangered Children, invite all residents of the city of Topeka to participate in Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day. Now therefore, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, April 24th, 2024 as National Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day. In witness whereof, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby affix my official signature and the official seal of the City of Topeka, Kansas on this 16th day of April 2024.
Just thank you for supporting our local efforts to provide hope, help, and support to Shawnee County children and families that are affected by parent substance use. This year, our Shawnee County Alliance for Drug Endangered Children has been proud to host a weekly webinar series that has reached hundreds of people in Shawnee County, in Kansas, and across the country to promote education and awareness of these issues.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Before we get started on presentations, I did want to announce for everyone at the city manager's welcome prompting to announce the retirement of Ronaldo Davis. His last day, I do believe, will be April 26th. This is his last city council meeting. Ronaldo has been with the city for, I think it is about 23 years, as the City of Topeka TV producer. And so if we could just, is he in here or is he in the back? Okay, yes, please. That would be great. He's coming. So let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, Ronaldo. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now on presentations. There will be a presentation by the ADA Advisory Council, their annual update. And Brenda, can you help us move forward with this?
Sure. So we have Jo Charay she is the Advisory Council Chair that will be here to present, and also Stephanie Pope will be interpreting.
And I might also add, Deputy Mayor and Governing Body, that the translation is provided by Stephanie Pope, who is an ASL interpreter, and she's been on the little screen on the screen.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is it on? Okay. Thank you for allowing me to present. My name is Jo Charay. I'm the chair of the ADA Council. Our mission is to support the civil rights of and full integration into Topeka community life for all people with disabilities, enhance the community by recognizing the contributions of persons with disabilities, work toward providing full access to facilities, programs, services, activities, and employment, to enable persons with disabilities to equally participate in the social and economic life of the city. Next slide, please. We advocate for pedestrian safety, emergency preparedness, access to city buildings, access to city programs, access to equally effective communications for all City of Topeka meetings, documents, and publications. Next slide, please. Our accomplishments for 2023, our former Chair Steve Schoenberg and DEI Coordinator Ernesto De La Rosa attended the ADA National Symposium in Kansas City, Missouri. We also performed ADA grievance procedure. We have had presentations from partners in the city, the Community Engagement Division, Public Works Department, Fire Department, Housing Services Division, Shawnee County Emergency Management, and Bird Scooter Company. We have received and managed ADA complaints, with the ADA coordinator receiving 23 complaints in 2023. Our goals for 2024 are to become more visible in the community, educate small businesses on ADA compliance, continue to promote services and programs that improve pedestrian safety, emergency preparedness, access to city buildings, access to city programs, and access to equally effective communications. We also will be giving 2 presentations this year on public accommodation and service animals in August and equally effective communication in October. And I now stand for questions.
Is there any questions, governing body? Councilman Miller?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for presenting today. Of those 23 complaints in 2023, have all of them been resolved?
Pardon me?
Have all of them been resolved of the complaints?
I am
23?
going to defer to Monique Glaudet for that question.
Okay.
Greetings, governing body. Councilmember Miller, I have that information. I'll be glad to share it with the council tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate
most
it.
welcome.
Councilman
Any other questions?
Kell? Councilman Kell?
Yes.
What was the, out of those 23, was there something that was stood out more than the others?
Again, that would be a Monique Glaudet question. I apologize.
Unfortunately, Councilmember Kell, I haven't memorized all of those, but I will share that information in the log with you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome.
Stay there.
Councilman Duncan?
My first question might be you, or maybe it's the city manager, or maybe it's Joe. A couple questions. First, right now, who is handling complaints when they come into the city? Is that you?
I am.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I want
Yes.
to make sure.
Sure.
So, Joe, can you talk about what the board does when you do get a complaint? Like what your process is to help people get to the right folks?
Right now, everything's going to Monique
Okay.
because she is the interim ADA coordinator in Ernesto's departure.
Sure. So if someone complains to one of your members, then you guys get in touch with Monique and
Yes.
direct them to her. Okay.
And Councilmember, if I may interject for just a moment, we're receiving complaints in multiple facets, mainly by C-Click-Fix, or either through the Ombudsman's office.
Sure.
We obtain the complaint, we then disperse it to the appropriate department, then provide a response, and then we share that information with the ADA Council during our meetings.
Okay, perfect. Then, Joe, do you know, have we ever as a city or done one recently, have we done an ADA audit of ourselves?
No, I do not believe that we have.
Has there been any discussion by the board about what that would look like? Who would do it? What it would cost if we wanted to engage the city? Or I guess if not, I would suggest maybe that's an agenda item for a future meeting.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that assessment. And actually, one of the things that I'm wanting to do for the equally effective communication workshop that we have is looking at how many traffic signals are ADA compliant within the city and building off of that as well, because Some of them have Braille, some of them have the auditory, some of them have the visual, but there's no consistency across the city with all of those modes of accessibility for crosswalk signals.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions?
Councilwoman Hiller.
Not so much a question, but perhaps a suggestion for when Ms. Glaudet sends us the report tomorrow, in that I'm aware of people who've kind of taken it upon themselves to turn in ADA sidewalk complaints and crossing complaints, just to either just driving around town or whatever it is. And it'd be interesting to see if those are, if of the 23, there's one person reporting a whole lot of them. Any answer is okay with me, but I know that there've been a couple of champions for sidewalks and crossings especially, and that would just help us have some perspective on what you're getting. And I also frankly didn't know when those kinds of things went in through C-Click Fix, whether they just go straight to Public Works, which they used to, or whether they come through ADA first. So just be interesting to have that thread.
Is there any other questions? Councilman Kell?
That is a good point on the sidewalk stuff, because honestly, I take bird scooters at least once, twice a week, that I pull over and remove a bird scooter from the intersection for the ramp up, or just in the middle of the sidewalk. And it'd almost be nice if we could have some way to report it where we're not sending out someone to take care of an issue that's non-existent anymore. But I see it all the time. I have 100 pictures in my phone that I've taken of it. So, because that is my big complaint about bird, is that things are left in the intersections and in the sidewalk way too much.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This might be for Monique. Do we have a list of ADA corners? I noticed in my neighborhood, as I've been going through, I've been seeing different corners starting to get the ADA, I don't want to call them ramps, is that what you call them? But they're digging for them.
Sure, the ADA accessible ramps. I would have to inquire with Public Works in regards to that, so I'll make that inquiry tomorrow. And would
Okay.
you like to see that list if there's?
Yeah, I would like to see, and how do
Sure.
we get on the list? Or is that from complaint driven, or?
That's a process I'd have to inquire with Public Works. So I will speak with Braxton about that in the morning and then be able to provide you with an answer.
Okay, because I know at one time we were on a roll with them, and then I felt like I didn't see them anymore, but that could be me. So I just kind of wanted to know the
Sure.
outcome of that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Joe and Director Glaudet, and I would also request that any information that is passed forward be sent to the full governing body. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we move to number 4, consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you move on to, will you read from the consent agenda?
A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Christina Valdivia Acala approving a special event known as the Sacred Heart St. Joseph Parish Dermis Fest 2024. B is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Christina Valdivia Acala granting Sacred Heart St. Joseph Parish an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions. C is approval of a professional service contract between the City of Topeka and Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors LLC for providing financial management services in relation to the departure of the city's acting chief financial officer to the City of Topeka Department of Administrative and Financial Services. D is a resolution introduced by interim city manager Richard Neinstead authorizing initiation of eminent domain proceedings to acquire a temporary easement for a street intersection reconstruction project at 6th and Oakley. E are minutes of the special meeting of April 8 and the regular meeting of April 9, 2024, and there are no applications.
Thank you for that. We have heard the consent agenda as read. Do we have a motion? So moved. Motion by Councilwoman Ortiz, second by Councilman Dogler. We can take
You may vote.
the vote. Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Now let me. All right. Councilmember Hofer, are you a yes on the consent agenda? I don't have you logged in there. All right, we have 7 yes with Councilmember Miller voting no. The motion carries.
Okay. All right. Now we move on to action items. Action item 5A. Madam Clerk, please read.
A is a resolution introduced by interim city manager Richard Neinstead authorizing and adopting the 2025 to 2034 CIP and the 2025 to 2027 CIB and approving project budgets.
City Manager.
Deputy Mayor and Governing Body, Josh McInerney, our budget manager, will make this presentation to you on the capital improvement program and the capital improvement budget.
Thanks, Richard.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Governing Body. Not much of a presentation tonight. Only thing I have to say is like to thank the staff for the hard work on all of the presentations and putting together the CIP, and also the people who aren't here tonight, such as our inspectors or engineers who actually engage our outside consultants and work with the contractors to actually lay down the road and lay down the pipe. So it'd be remiss if we didn't mention them in the process. So with that, I'll turn it back to Governing Body for questions or possible discussions about the CIP.
Okay, so is there questions, comments? Councilman Duncan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I promise not to take too long or belabor this or be too repetitive, but I'm at least going to make my case and then we'll see what happens. As I mentioned last week, I would like to see, and I'll make the motion here in a minute, some insertion for Topeka Performing Arts Center put into this CIP. As I always like to remind people, and I know has become a broken record, we do own the building. It's also the only facility we own not outlined in some form or fashion throughout the CIP. I'm not just TPAC focused. I know it sounds like it sometimes when we get into these conversations. I've sat up here and I view it just like I do all of the other properties we hold on to. It's an asset and it's an economic driver for downtown Topeka. And I feel some responsibility to at least advocate to keep it an asset and an economic driver for downtown. I've supported parking garage reinvestment down here. We've continue to support money for the zoo, even though we no longer manage it. The hotel we have now in the CIP before we put TPAC in there. And I continue and always will support investing in all of our properties, including our police and fire stations. I just view this as one of our other properties we need to continue to maintain and keep up. As I've proposed things the last 4 years, which have not quite made it, I think this is the better of all the plans I've come up with for a variety of reasons. It is focused. It is just on capital improvements. It is not a quote-unquote blank check to the Performing Arts Board Center. It has the backstop, as those funds will have to come back to the Infrastructure Committee before they're expended, so council members will have instant input into that process, have to come back to us. And it can be reviewed each year. Everything in this CIP gets reviewed every year. So if next year, after the first year, we don't think it's working right or the first amount of funds have been spent correctly, we can make those adjustments to the CIP moving forward. I also think that this provides stability for both the city, because it finally, besides lets you stop hearing from me all the time about let's give it money, lets us know specifically what dollars are going into what. And it certainly provides the TPAC some stability in actually doing some planning on those capital improvements. I did send a list today of some of the needs that TPAC sent me, which included a combination of things. Some of it was capital improvements, some of it was just other needs. I asked them to sort of include everything in that list because I wanted to be as transparent as possible so that you, as council members, got a full grasp of everything they're trying to do. Not all of those are capital improvements, so they wouldn't be expected, even though they included them, for us to help assist in those efforts, such as tables, chairs, and linens, but certainly reconstruction things like carpets, painting, and those kind of things that were in that list. They're still doing some assessments, so it's not even comprehensive. They're still working through that process of seeing what else could be added as they work through it. And so I do think that's important to point out. One of the questions asked to me today earlier was, some of that list has some quote-unquote very small things on it. Can't believe they don't have this. And what I tried to illustrate in that conversation was, because of our continued lack of infrastructure investment into that property, when that board has had money and been able to say, finally, we can go spend it on A, B, or C from those things like tables, chairs, and linens, they haven't been able to because they've had to go do repairs that were really our responsibility. and it has put them with one hand behind their back as they've tried to fundraise and work towards getting projects done in there and get those things that would become actual return on investment projects. And so hopefully this would allow them to stop having to take that money that they work to when they do fundraisers, and they've done them. They've done, a few years ago, they did Jesus Christ Superstar. They have Jeff Creedy, who now comes and does it as part of a program to give money back. So they are doing those things. It's just all that money is going into stuff that we should be probably paying for as a city. So with that, Deputy Mayor, I will make the amendment that we add into the 2025 to 2029 CIP, which is 5 years, $325,000 per year for the period of that time for infrastructure projects into the Topeka Performing Arts Center, and it would still go through the Public Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you for that, Councilman. Is there any questions, concerns about this amendment?
don't have a
Councilman
second.
Kell?
On that, some of these, is the marquee a part of any of these improvements? Because it looks like right now the marquee is kind of down and,
It was in the list, yep.
okay. I just want to make sure it's part of that. And you move for it, I'll second it.
Thank you for that, Councilman Kell. We can still take dialogue, correct? We can still take. Councilman Banks?
Deputy Mayor, it would be interesting for me if I knew if some of these projects were individual yes votes, no votes. But since this is a package deal, am I understanding that correct?
Do you mean on the CIP
CIP, the whole
itself?
plan, there's no, say if I wanted a yes vote for T-PAC, do I have to vote yes for the hotel?
My understanding, and unless someone else wants to tell me different, is that items can be pulled out to be voted on separately. Otherwise, one can be, removed out, taken out to be voted on. That would have to come from a council member, and then the rest of the CIP would be voted on as the full governing body. So that would mean what you're saying about Topeka Hotel, my understanding is that would be able to be pulled out. Am I correct? Thank you.
So do we need an amendment to take it out?
Well, we're first dealing with what we have right here with Spencer having his amendment, and he made the motion. Councilman Kell seconded it, but I want to make sure, is there any other, Councilman Hiller and then Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
You're mayor today. I call you. I just need to make a statement. Well, in general, if anybody, if tonight's voting night, if somebody wants to add something, the amendment needs to include instructions to staff to figure out where the money's going to come from, because they have to take it out of something else, because they've got this budget balanced and delivered to us. So something to keep in mind. Comments for me, and I'll take credit for some of Spencer's comments because I talked to him today about this. And a warm-up act, I suppose. I am really supportive of TPAC, and I have watched them try and hold it together and move programming as well as get us to do our part in the infrastructure for years. And my understanding is some promises were made in recent years that simply weren't kept. And left you guys they're here today, so stringing along. That said, I don't think it's responsible for us to vote this at this time. And that's because we have no context at all. I've been through this process where we got a full business plan of this is how things are going today, these are the kind of programs we're doing, this is the revenue, these are our expenses for operating as well as the capital. We're not current at all. I was kind of shocked when I saw the list that came via Councilman Duncan, and I've told him that, but apparently he asked them to put anything that they had that they needed in there, but many of those items are certainly not capital expenses. We also did, and thank you, Josh and staff, got a list, all of us today, because I was pretty sure that TPAC was in the CIP in the firm pot, and it is. And so we all got an accounting, and I guess it's here on our desk as well, of what has been invested in the TPAC side of of this City Hall building in the last, since 2020. And it's been 9.5 million, and even if you take the big TPAC City Hall HVAC, there's still 800,000, and we are still in that plan for some additional items. I don't have a problem sitting down and reviewing where you are fully at this time, but I am concerned that adding money at this last minute without the full business plan background is not responsible. That said, I also know that we have looked at year-end funding, and with a full, with the new fund that we have, and we'll also, so with a full proposal that documents what's a priority and why and where it fits, that's a possibility still this year, as is, I know that Transient Guest Tax is looking at perhaps restructuring where they are and has some refunded money available. So I could support from other sources a documented fund for this year, and also could strongly support getting the full information refreshed that we need and figuring out how to, and getting a long-term plan out of this coming year. So again, I can't support the amendment as proposed, but I do think we should take on looking at some immediate needs as well as a master plan for them.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do agree we've been promised some things and it just didn't happen. So if I support this, I will hold Spencer accountable. I will hold him accountable. He knows that. Spencer, and I don't know the answer to this, but on the step repair, are you talking about those stairs coming up to TPAC? Can I make a request?
Yes.
We leave those every Tuesday night. Those steps are broken. There's no lights. It's hard to see when you're going down. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're okay with it.
No, there have been injuries on those steps.
Yes, there
from the
has.
public.
There has, and there's some now that some of the bricks are crumbling because they got in my sandal. But I would just wonder, is that a part of that to get some lights in there?
So there is a plan to take a look at those steps, yes, and do repair on those steps. That's been if some minor repair work has already been done to get the gaps and the holes filled. But to your point, part of it is the way those things were designed. They've got these weird gaps in them, so it's going to take filling in, and a kind of redesign is not the right word because we're not tearing out all the steps, but it needs some actual modernization, I guess is the word, including a better ramp up those steps.
Would you say it's a step-by-step process?
Yes, it's a step-by-step process. So yes, that's absolutely part of the discussions of things that need to be addressed.
Because when you go east, it gets darker and darker, I feel like, and some of the officers have even taken out their flashlight, so just food for thought, just not only me, but people that are coming up and down those stairs. I think it needs to be lighted very well.
But I think to your point, it's why this process, I think, will allow for those conversations. Back to my original point, the backstop here is the 3 council people who sit, whoever it is at whatever time on that infrastructure committee, because they're going to have to come to that group and say, this is what we want to spend these dollars on. And that group can either say, perfect, or wait a minute, let's back up a little bit because it looks to us like these needs are here, here, and here, and let's reprioritize. Which to me is very different than things I've even brought here in the past, which is just give them money. Just give them money and let them do it.
And I agree with that. And can you make it perfectly clear that's why they're coming to our committee? That's why they're being asked to come to our committee, to make it perfectly clear what the plan is going to be? Just like, today we talked about the stage lift, and so it would have been nice to have some of our questions answered.
Well, and I will tell you, they're slated to give a presentation, but not until the end of May because this calendar we tried to get it on there, it just wasn't possible. But you'll have a chance to ask them some of those in this body a month from now, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I do have a question, Councilman Duncan. You're saying that you're requesting for 5 years, $325,000 a year.
Correct.
And before this money per year is given out, it will be it will have to go for review before the Public Works and Infrastructure.
Correct. And it may not be in one lump sum. It could be, we need 20,000 for this or 50,000, just like we do with some of the sidewalk projects or those other projects.
And so during that time when it will be reviewed, there will be specific, this is a capital improvement project, this is not. So I mean, this is going to be looked over with a fine tooth comb.
That's my vision, and that's why I specifically in my motion said these dollars have to be spent on capital improvements.
Okay.
So that if they do come, that gives the committee direction to say, look, we understand you need tables and chairs, but that's not happening. That's not a capital improvement, but we're definitely going to help you, whatever, paint the basement and get it back up to being rentable again. Then you can afford to go buy your tables and chairs, right? So yes, that is absolutely my intention and why I wanted that amendment to say capital improvements.
Okay, and I am going to say that I just personally, with this being my second term and understanding what we're continuing to put through policy and finance, what we're continuing to put through PWI, this whole committee system is a really good process and so much more thoughtful than before, when things just used to run kind of roughshod. So is there any other questions, concerns, dialogue? Okay, so we have the motion by Councilman Duncan, the second by Councilman Kell. So it's time to vote, Brenda?
All right, we have 8 yes with Councilmember Hiller voting no. The motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, so we're still on the CIP. And is there any other questions, concerns, dialogues, amendments, pulling something out, anything of that nature? Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you. With the amendment in there, well, first I want to thank staff. I did have some questions along the way, and they were very prompt and very thorough, and I appreciate that a lot. That resolved all my questions but one issue. I'm prepared to move adoption of the CIP with one exception, and that is that the number 3 item on the list that the staff gave us about changes would not be included, and that is switching the FIRM program, which was set in the original budget to be done in cash in 2025, 26, and 27. And the staff's recommendation is we switch that back to bonding. And I'm very concerned about that. When I look back, one of the things staff provided me, we added, depending on how you count it exactly, 38 or 42 staff positions in the last couple of years. And those positions, by staff's assessment, are basically costing $100,000 apiece. That's $3.9 million that we've added in staffing. I think by leaving FIRM the way it was in the first place with cash, as we pass this budget, it will challenge the staff to get it incorporated in our operating budget for 25. If somehow they can't do it, we can go back and bond it. But everything that's in that FIRM budget is maintenance, and we just have to get it back into the operating budget. So again, do you want?
Councilman Duncan?
I want to ask you to make that as its own amendment before you include approving the CIP, because I know of another amendment somebody would like to make, and I just want to make sure they get the opportunity to do that.
I will, thank you. I will do that.
So I can support the amendment, but I'd like it. I can't if it includes support of the CIP yet.
Let me figure out how to phrase it exactly. Would move to I don't know whether to say go back to the original proposal or amend the current proposal. I move to amend the final proposal from staff to revert the FIRM program back to the original proposal of cash funding in the operating budget for 2025 to 2027.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion by Councilwoman Hiller, the second by Councilman Dobler. Is there any questions, comments? So then we can move to a vote. Oh, okay, Council.
I just wanted to make sure that on our public comment, we announce and give Henry McClure an option. He signed up for it. I want to make sure he has the opportunity.
Oh, very good, before we vote. Very good. Thank you for that. So, anything else? So we can go ahead and vote? Madam Clerk?
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
Thank you. Councilman Banks?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to make an amendment to pull the Topeka Hotel from our original CIP resolution. Go ahead.
Councilman Banks, motion to have it removed, Topeka
Removed.
Hotel from the CIP.
Yes.
Who had the second? Did I have the second, or did Cal have, or who had the second? I have the second. Christina Valdivia Alcala has the second. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are we removing it, or are we pulling it to vote separately? Because there's two different
Pulling it
things
to
that.
vote separately.
Okay, then please please redo your motion.
Okay.
Because as it stands.
Making a motion to pull the hotel to review it separately. Pardon me? To vote separately.
And I would second that motion. Councilwoman Hiller?
A matter of order, maybe the attorney could help, but I don't think we need to do that. We just need to consider it separately right now, and then if we want to either pull it out or leave it in.
Councilman Dobler?
So is the amendment to remove the hotel from the CIP?
Right.
Is that your amendment, to remove the hotel from the CIP?
And vote on it separately.
Well, we would be voting on the amendment to remove the hotel from the CIP.
I think it's still confusing.
Well,
Because I think that what we're having in mind is removing, not to vote on the CIP as it is, with the amendments that have just been made, to keep Topeka Hotel in there, because I know of at least a couple of votes that want to vote for the CIP as a whole, but to remove Topeka Hotel as part of that vote.
So then my question is, what is the amendment?
So help us phrase it then.
We've got an attorney.
Yes, attorney, help us with the phrasing.
Well, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're wanting to make the amendment to remove that, so we'd have to vote on the amendment to remove the hotel from the CIP and then vote on the rest of the CIP after that.
No.
no.
Councilman Dobler, Duncan.
All right. Is my understanding what they are trying to do is not vote on the CIP in its entirety that includes 100 items, including the hotel. So their goal is not to allow us to not vote on whether the hotel should eventually be part of the CIP, but to take that vote independent of the approval of the entire CIP. So the motion, I think, would be to remove the CIP, to separate the CIP, the hotel portion from the CIP for a separate vote of approval. So we would then vote on that. I don't know if it matters which order we vote in, but so, yes, so that would be the amendment, if that makes sense. They want to separate the,
Councilman Cal.
I can't think of the name.
Could you explain, right now it's just saying that we're just listing it as an asset.
Yeah, so the reason we put it in was transparency, because it falls under the guise of our CIP policy since it's a tangible asset. And then we wanted, obviously be transparent to the public. And now just because it's in the CIP for, I can't remember the exact amount, that $9 million amount, that doesn't mean we're necessarily bonding $9 million today. Right now, we have it temp noted. So what temp noting means is we haven't permanently bonded yet. So if the governing body chooses to, let's say, sell the hotel, it's a lot easier to liquidate that asset going forward. So let's say you sell it for half that, you'd have to identify the other half of the funding source that way. So this does not necessarily mean we're permanently bonding it. The reason we had to put it in the CIP was because if we keep temp noting it, we'll eventually exceed the previous budget that we voted on a couple months back when we bought the hotel.
Councilman Duncan?
All right, with that very helpful explanation, then I believe you can really just make an amendment to remove the hotel from the CIP, period.
Simply all over that.
Amendment to remove. Okay, so do we need to restate the amendment? To remove the Topeka Hotel from the CIP, an amendment.
To remove the hotel from the CIP,
That's your amendment,
that's the amendment.
and I second that. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Hiller?
I just want to ask Josh again, I mean, is that problematic for us from any sort of official financial or legal rules that if we have an asset, it has to be addressed?
I'm honestly probably not the best subject matter expert on that. I just know if we temp note it again, it would exceed the original project budget authority previously given, so we'd have to come back.
Councilman Kell?
So can you give us the pros and cons of leaving it in and the pros and cons of leaving it out? Because it's kind of, right now with all this back and forth, it's not making sense to me anymore with what's going on. My thinking is, it's one of our assets. We need to make sure we're taking care of it. And I just want to make sure we're taking care of it the best way possible.
Just real quick, I haven't really been involved too much in the hotel conversation, so I would need to consult with the legal department on all that information. I'll let city manager chime in.
Richard's got his hand up.
Or city manager?
Thank you. Deputy Mayor and governing body, if you please, maybe some grace here. We have an interim finance director, Ben Hart, who I will introduce to you later. And if possible, if you could at least give us a week to kind of talk about this so that we know what the implications are and we can bring you back somewhat of a report about what the implications are if we do this or not.
Councilman Dobler?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I mean, this is a CIP. It's a plan. If we vote to leave this in, anything that happens to that hotel still comes before the council for a vote. Not a dollar can be spent unless it comes before the council. If we take it out, it can always be added back in at a later date. So just keep in mind, this isn't, I mean, it's not a monumental decision at this point. Thank you.
So is there any other comments or concerns? Councilwoman Ortiz?
What is the vote on the floor?
The motion is to remove the Hotel Topeka from the CIP.
Was there anything else, Councilwoman? Anything else? Okay, then it looks like we are for a vote. Okay, thank you.
The motion fails. It looks like we have council members Hiller, Kale, Dobler, Duncan, and Hofer voting now.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there any other dialogue, comments? Councilman Dobler?
Before public comment, do we have a motion? We don't have a motion yet to approve the CIP, so I would make that motion at this point.
Okay, move to approve the CIP by Councilman Dobler, second by Councilwoman Ortiz, but now we have public comment. We do have public comment. I think that Henry McClure was up for this time period.
Well, Henry McClure. Hi,
Correct.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, you
Cheers.
have your 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Want to plant a seed? As you contemplate the CIP, and I'm trying to get the owners of and the listing agents a deal with the city for the garage. And it would really be cool if we could just move that garage one time. And what I want to say is that no matter what the price is, no matter what it costs to move them, whatever the rent is and whatever the capital expenses, that we can finance that deal. So if you want to consider leasing as an option, and the owners have expressed that they want to get the deal no matter what. They'll sell it if they got to sell it. But as a taxpayer and a free-thinking bull in the china shop, I want to encourage this body to lease the premises. If you're not going to pay cash for it, well, you're going to bond it, and you're going to have a monthly payment no matter what. So if we add a fair lease payment for where the state of the state, and then add the capital improvements to build your facility so you can relocate into it permanently there. We just add a little profit onto it, maybe a point or two over your bond rate, and then the burden to the taxpayer is completely financed by mainline printing. And I can tell you, I've looked at their financial statements, they got the funds, and they got the borrowing power. If you come out and look at mainline printing, just walk in there, they've got millions upon millions of dollars of printing presses. Mainline printing is a jewel. Since we moved them from downtown across from the jail and then sold them the Gordon's building, their business is blooming and booming. So as an idea, and also too, I think it would be kind of neat for the governing body to feel the pain of taxes. And I think it's good. I personally am on the side that the government shouldn't own real estate. You should rent it. You can have, I can write a lease with your Kelly Trestle on your behalf that would be good for the taxpayers and good for the city council. I've done this for 40 years. And you got me on your side on this one. It'd be a great deal. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak to you, plant a seed. Either way, it works. But what's nice is if you really consider what Mainline's done for the community, during that whole time of the other fellow owning it and the the contract that never happened, they never once balked, paid their taxes, paid the full rate, never protested up until the end when they wanted the sale price to change the value, which is fair. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. As far as the hotel goes, it technically has to get approved by the owners, the hotel corporation, but I'm not your lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the votes that wanted to pull it out, because that's good thinking.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the motions on the floor, so then we are ready. Oh, sorry, Councilman Duncan.
Sorry, Deputy. I just want to make a comment before we vote. The CIP is a living document, and which is good, and I think we've done a pretty good job the last couple of years. Councilman Dobler came up with the idea of the infrastructure committee a few years ago, and that's made a big difference in how we get through this process, because we're not just looking at it for the first time in many ways anymore like we used to, which I think has helped. But I really just want to take a moment to thank staff, because they've gone through this process with an interim city manager. Josh hasn't been thrown into the fire. He was kicked off the cliff the last couple of weeks, and he has had to scramble and figure this thing out and answer a lot of questions from us at the last minute. So I appreciate him and everyone else who's kind of done this in a very unique and different process this year than we normally do it. And just want to say thanks to all the staff who've both put up with our changes and questions, but stepped up when they needed to at times when they didn't expect to. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Anyone else on the governing body? Any comments? Okay, if not, it looks like we're ready for a vote.
All right, you can vote. All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
Thank you, City Clerk. Now, if we could move on to action item 5B. Madam Clerk, can you please read?
B is a resolution introduced by interim city manager Richard Neinstead declaring the necessity to repair, alter, reconstruct, enlarge, or improve the city's water pollution, and/or stormwater utility system through improvement projects authorized by the resolution, and providing notice of intention, authorizing the issuance of revenue bonds in the manner required by KSA 10-1201 at SEEK.
Thank you. City Manager?
Deputy Mayor and governing body, Josh McInerney, our budget manager, will be part of this discussion. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you Ben Hart, who is our interim finance director, and will be at the table as well with Josh. And Ben is with Baker Tilly, and he will get you through this interim period until you bring on the new city manager and a new finance director is hired.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're glad to have been aboard. So this is something that's voted on every year after the approval, if the CIP is approved. So in accordance with Kansas law, the governing body must inform the citizens as well as the market of our intention to utilize revenue bonds. This does not constitute a bond sale, nor does it exclude the city from using operating funds or other funding sources to fund these projects, and it's just it's an administrative requirement that's done every year after the CIP.
Thank you. Is there any comment, concerns by the governing body? Anyone? Move to approve by Councilman Dobler, second by Councilman Kell? It's okay. Councilman Kell. I do have that there is a call public comment for this as well. Is that correct? No. Okay. So then we should be ready for the vote?
Yes. We have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right. We now move on to public comment. We do have a number of people on the list. And each person will have 4 minutes to address the governing body. The first one I have listed is Michael Skeleton. Excuse me. Michael Skeleton. Third time, Michael Skeleton. Next, I have Shamika King Sims. Hello, Shamika.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, City Manager, and members of the City Council. My name is Shamika King Sims, and I'm a resident of District 1 and currently support my neighborhood, Historic Old Town, as part of the leadership team for our Neighborhood Improvement Association. About a year ago, during the time when city council meetings were held over at the Cyrus K. Holiday Building, I made a public comment in support of the efforts by the former city manager and Councilman Spencer Duncan's efforts to get a land bank up and running. Immediately after my comment, Topeka Jump member Melissa Weichel echoed support for the land bank as outlined in the market study from 2020 and reminded the council that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Review Committee had not been meeting and the importance of it being prioritized to meet growing demands for safe, high-quality housing. In the time since those public comments were made, much headway has been made to make the land bank operational, including pulling in Topeka Fire Department, Topeka Police Department, and property maintenance on structures that would be ideal for getting back on the tax rolls quickly or would provide discernible relief from unwanted activity in neighborhoods. In contrast, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Review Committee has continued to languish despite a strong desire among community members to begin meeting regularly. Excuse me. In recent months, I've tried to work with property owners in my neighborhood to connect them with renters who would make solid tenants. In this vein, I've noticed the circumstances around people moving becoming more dire. Since I have started to help these property owners, I've noted that veterans are relocating to Topeka for better access of care and are sleeping on couches. I've noted that women transitioning from a safe house are trying to get into one-bedroom apartments so that they can save money to afford cars and other necessities in order to live their lives. And I've noted that people who have been regularly housed are trying to get away from poorly managed buildings out of fear for their safety. Each month that passes without the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Review Committee meeting creates more ground to cover in meeting growing demands. We must employ all tools available to ensure housing options are reactivated through construction and rehabilitation. It is imperative for the City of Topeka to create the time and support to ensure the Affordable Housing Trust Review Committee can meet regularly and begin to weigh in on considerations. We thank you in advance for the movement to reconvene the committee on behalf of our many neighbors across Topeka, waiting in quiet desperation for relief. Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Governing Body. Shane Grom, currently the chair of TPAC, Board of Trustees. Appreciate you guys' support tonight for the CIP and the votes you've done. I'm joined tonight by future chair Stacy Williams, past chair Jeff Parker, and our current executive director Rory Kent. So it seems like in the last few weeks there's been a lot of conversation about TPAC and funding and CIP and our current status. HVAC, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to come present and just say, hey, I'm here. I want to open a line of communication with all the different governing body members. I'd love to meet with you guys all in person, one-to-one, for a coffee or lunch here sometime soon, so you can kind of learn about what's going on, our current status, HVAC, and everything else that you guys have been talking about. In the future, probably shoot for maybe quarterly presentations, short presentations. This is our budget. This is what's going on. I give you a heads up on programming, so on and so forth. Just wanted to come and introduce myself and say we appreciate all you guys' support.
Thank you. Next, we have Anton Ahrens. Hi, Anton.
Thank you, City Manager, Governing Body. My name is Anton Ahrens, and I'm a member of the board of the Topeka Justice Unity Ministry Project, also known as Topeka Jump. We're here once again to implore each of you to agree to appoint members to the Affordable Housing Review Committee and to set a meeting date for that committee to issue requests for proposals to housing developers. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund has now officially been sitting unused for over a year. It's been sitting with a little over $1 million available, which is ready to fund affordable housing for our neighbors, as Shamika has just so told us so well. And it's been over a year that no new refurbished or new housing developments have been awarded any of this funding. Meanwhile, the rising cost of housing continues to climb, making it increasingly difficult for many hardworking families and individuals to find affordable places to live in our community. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund still represents an invaluable resource that can address the crisis head-on. And by convening the review committee and activating that trust fund, we can channel the necessary resources to create more affordable housing for those in need. I have here a stack of over 200 signed postcards from members of Topeka Jump, your constituents. These postcards each say the following, quote, "I am concerned that our city's Affordable Housing Trust Fund has now been sitting at just over $1 million of unused funding for over a year. The only barrier to this funding being used is that there is no review committee to administer the funds. This is happening while 44% of renters in Shawnee County are paying more than 30% of their income on housing." End quote. I'd add just parenthetically, there are also about 1,000 people in the housing wait list for the city of Topeka, which is a disturbing fact that has not changed recently. The number of signed postcards that we have here shows just a glimpse of how much this community not only cares about the lack of affordable housing, but how much it needs you to take action to address it. We know that Councilmember Duncan announced at a recent city council meeting that plans to appoint the review committee are in the works for later this year. We also have met with council members Kell and plan to meet with Councilmember Banks to discuss the issue, and they both approached us separately. They approached Jump separately. While we do genuinely appreciate the update from Councilman Duncan, we will continue to keep this issue in front of the governing body, and we're moving this forward, should not have to rely on any single council member. This should be an issue of necessity that moves every single person on this council to act. While we need the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and we do need the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, it's established, it's funded, it's ready to work for Topekans to create more affordable apartments and homes. All it takes is appointing a review committee, scheduling a meeting, and issuing RFPs to developers. That's what we will continue to ask of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know where, can I leave those?
And we also have up for public comment Henry McClure.
Deputy Mayor, nice to see you again. I need your help. So 21st and Adams is a property that I've had listed and been working on redeveloping that, maybe going on a couple of years. And there's some issues that I've got, and I need your help. So we're under contract now, and we're working out some details to develop that corner that's been vacant for I don't know how long, maybe forever. The guy that owns it now used to own the trailer park to the north of it, and it's all platted and laid out for multifamily. It's M2 and M1, and part of the development is housing. But you know, this body's actually told me to leave the guy alone. And sometimes, like landlords and developers, sometimes we get the bum rap. From what I hear, and I need help of the community, I'm trying to locate the guy that lived in the house. And anyway, from what I understand, he's sick. I think he's living with his kids. I don't know. I don't really have any of the details. We never really had a lease. It was a handshake. I don't think the rent ever got raised over 20 years. It's for a very long time. So he's defaulted on his agreement. He doesn't pay rent anymore, and he's not healthy. And we got to turn the utilities off. His car's blocking the sidewalk. And, so and I've been trying to get him to relocate earlier, but you really can't tell me to leave him alone. I have to evict the guy. And I can't be the bad guy today. I need your help so we can move some land on. We can move some property on, get it on the tax roll. And I'm very sorry that the guy's having health problems. And maybe you can talk to the person whose district that is to help me locate this fella. And 21st and Adams, it will be a nice project. It's worthy of the city. It will brighten up the area, and I think the final project will be really great. So thank you for your time. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. And look at all that time I'm giving back to you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, we move on now to announcements. City Clerk.
There is no meeting next week.
Okay, City Manager.
I would just say this about your TPAC discussion. It is an asset worth investing in. In the years that my wife and I have lived in Ottawa, there are times we've been up here 2 to 3 times a year for a program, for a production, for a show, and we stay overnight, and Rita spends money, and we do all that, you get to say, anyway. But it is an asset worth investing in. It is really a crown jewel for Topeka. So thank you for discussing it, and thank you for moving forward with it.
Okay, we'll start with Councilwoman Hofer.
I'm the board member for the Friends of the Topeka Zoo, so I'm going to say something for them tonight. Starting Friday night, they open a new, I don't call it an exhibit, but it is the Lego animals that are going to be all throughout the zoo. They're not charging anything extra for going to see it, but they are setting them up in the zoo right now. And I've been to a place in Houston, and they had a Lego section of their botanical gardens. And it was a lot of fun. The kids loved it. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you haven't been to the zoo lately, starting Friday, please go to the zoo and see the new exhibit. And they're going to have these Lego creatures all over. I don't remember how many they told me they were going to have, but they're going to have them in the buildings. They're going to have them along the paths. They're going to have them everywhere. So a lot of kids will get a big kick out of seeing all the new animals. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you. Don't really have any events. I just want to send some thank yous out to the staff again, and also to my colleagues. We've all been working on a lot of issues. Certainly this capital budget was a big one. We've had other things going on, lots of committee work, and just thank you, everybody, for all that you're putting into making this work. And those of you out in the audience as well, it matters. Appreciate it.
100%.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would just like to say to my constituents, if I have not got back to you, my iPad crashed, and thank you, IT, for getting me back up and running. Appreciate that. The only problem is now I don't know how to use this damn thing. So it's like, it's so new. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm kind of deleting stuff and moving stuff around. So if I missed your call or if I haven't called you back and I'm pretty swamped still, I ask that you would give me a call again. Please don't hesitate to call again. I know you won't. I do want to thank Spencer and Councilman Banks. My Way to Work kids, we had 39 applications. And I appreciate you guys with that orientation. And I hope that Spencer taught them how to tie a tie right. We'll figure that out once they show up. A lot of fun. These kids are really eager, and there's just something about them learning how to tie that tie. I think they feel like they're a man when they get it down, you know, that it just clicks with them. So next year I'll be inviting other people to participate in that. Also like to thank our HR director for coming out and helping with the interview process. It was really neat. I think I met Spencer's kid. He said, we asked what their weakness was, and he said, I talk a lot, but I'm working on it. He was a cute kid, though, he was. But anyway, so more to come on that. And again, I'm seeing people moving cones. Please, guys, just be careful and be patient. Don't move the cones, and we will get through this trying time. I'd also like to thank Councilwoman Hofer for those zoo updates, because the previous person that was on there, even though they were asked different things, never got an update, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilman Banks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to speak to the JUMP group. I had an opportunity last night to attend the rally, and I found it very interesting. Went a little longer than what I anticipated. Kind of felt like when I'm at church. You know, you there for a little while, and then you start looking at the clocks, and I did have to leave a little early, but I appreciated all of the information that was given. And my sister-in-law is a member of JUMP, so I not only got to hear it there, I got to hear it when I got home, say, well, I heard you left early. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to sit in and have an opportunity to learn a little bit about what you're trying to do, and I look forward to the opportunity to sit down and meet and talk. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Kell.
I want to speak on the Public Works and Utility Citizen Academy. Myself and Councilwoman Hofer have been doing that the last 2 weeks. First week we learned how they clean the water for our use. Last night we learned about what they use, how they clean the water after it's been consumed. So it's been really neat to see the behind the scenes. You drive by these facilities all the time, and they're there, but it's really cool to get in there, see everything, see how it works, get up close and personal. So the next time one of these comes around, I will definitely be pushing it out there for people to see, to sign up for. It's an amazing program. As was said during the public comment, I did meet with JUMP this last Wednesday, and I will be working to try to get the Affordable Housing Trust Fund up and running, work on trying to get people appointed to the committee to try to get this going. To me, it's a no-brainer, and we need to try to work on getting things rolling with this. And right now, we have $1 million just sitting there with no objective, but we have an ordinance there for it, so let's get it going. So I think that's it. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I really didn't have anything at first, but then I heard Councilwoman Ortiz, and you know, I've been watching some city council meetings for some years now, and I know you used to get at Emerson a lot, and I see you getting at Duncan a lot now. I just want to make sure you know that if you ever bring that here, I'm gonna get at you too. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, I will follow up with her banter. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Dobler.
Yeah, I didn't originally have any comments, and I still have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councilman Duncan?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a couple quick things. I assure you, Councilmember Kell, that trust fund's been sitting there, and Rhiannon, our planning director, and I have been working on it for a while. You are welcome to the party anytime. We are shutting nobody out, and she'd probably like a different voice than me. So please jump on board, because that's part of the process as we're trying to move it forward to actually speed it up a little bit. I do want a sincere thank you to everybody for supporting TPAC this evening. Obviously, I won't promise I'll totally shut up about it, but it'll be a lot less than previously. So that is my promise to you. But I do appreciate it. So thank you. And I not only always take very seriously making sure those dollars are spent wisely for the good of the citizens, but now that Councilwoman Ortiz put that target on my back and said she's watching me, there's even more pressure. So trust me, we will be on top of it to make sure it gets spent correctly. I did enjoy teaching people how to tie ties. Maybe I did it right. They seemed like they knew what they were doing when they left there. I guess we'll see how it came out when they got home. I actually learned a new way to tie a tie myself, so it worked both ways. I taught the only way I knew how and learned a new way. So you never know what you're going to leave a place with. And the last thing is, I believe it's tomorrow, is the launching of the Topeka license plate. I think 11 o'clock here at City Hall, and so it is official. If you can all run out and get that Topeka license plate, maybe now already, but at least tomorrow it will be officially launched and unveiled. So look forward to that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just wanted to say, to make an announcement about 3 upcoming meetings that are coming up with community town hall meetings that are going to be taking place and led by, along with community, the new civic group, and that is the Community Inspired Violence Intervention Coalition. I think I've mentioned before, some of the partners on that are activists, advocates that work in a grassroots capacity in community, Stormont Vale, YWCA, Department of Corrections, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. And so the dates for the meetings, the first meeting is April 20th. That's this coming Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Central Park Community Center. There is free activities for children if there's no babysitter available. Also, the second meeting will be on Monday, April 22nd. I forgot to tell the time. Let's back up there. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday at Central Park. Then the Oakland meeting is on Monday, April 22nd, and that will be from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Oakland Community Center. And then the final meeting will be April 27th, that's a Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Hillcrest Community Center. Again, there will be daycare provided, there will be food. This will be a community-involved conversation about how we reduce violence in our communities, and everyone is invited to attend. And if you have any questions, you can go on to Facebook to the Civic Topeka Shawnee County page. They are listed on Facebook with the event times and contact information, email information if you want to get more details. So that is all I have, and I do believe that we are in the need of 2 executive sessions. And will the senior city attorney state the motion for the first session?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 1 hour to discuss an individual employee's performance as allowed under KSA 754319 subsection B1. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers. The following staff may be necessary to assist the governing body in its deliberation: interim city manager Richard Nysted, senior attorney Matt Mullen, HR Director Foster, and other staff the interim city manager finds necessary.
Thank you for that. Do I have a motion? Motion from Councilman Kell, second. From Councilman Miller. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Aye. All right. We will then go ahead and move into executive session then. 10-minute break. We have reconvened the meeting and are now back in open session with no action being taken by the governing body during the executive session. There is a need for a second executive session. Will the senior city attorney state the motion?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, the motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 1 hour to discuss candidates for city manager as allowed under KSA 754319 subsection B1. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers. The following staff will be necessary to assist the governing body in deliberations: Senior City Attorney Matt Mullen and any other staff the governing body finds useful.
Okay, do we have a motion? So moved. Motion by Councilwoman Hofer, second.
Second.
By Councilman Duncan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. We don't take a break, right? We just go right into this executive session, right? Okay. Are you guys ready? So I can. Okay. We have reconvened the meeting and are now back in open session with no action being taken by the governing body during the executive session. If there is no further business appearing before the governing body, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Marcia.